Thank you all for being here. We're very happy and very excited to have this talk. It's going to be about cars. It's going to be about smart cars, and it's going to be about cars which are connected to the internet. But before we start, I'd like to ask, who the hell broke meme generator today? Because I'm sure it was one of you guys working on his presentation. We tried to add some more memes to our presentation than we could. And unfortunately, meme generator broke. So I don't know who's responsible for this, but you should...
that guy should be ashamed.
You should fix it as soon as possible. This talk is going to be about two main things. The first one is smart car forensics, and the second one is smart vehicle weaponization. Because what not many people understand right now is that the cars that we're driving today are very similar to the computers that we have on our desks, or the computers that we have on our, in our pockets. But before getting into this topic, just a few words about ourselves. I'd let Gabby introduce himself.
Yeah, hey, I'm Gabriel. Some people know me as the public transportation guy, hacker thingy. Yeah, or the Hachelure ATB for my Romanian homologs. Yeah, I'm an engineer. I like breaking stuff apart and then putting it back together. And ever since the guy that managed the public transportation network decided to no longer accept my unlimited cards, I bought myself a car. And that's what we're going to talk about in the presentation.
He bought a car and he managed to break it already. Well, to hack it, not to break it. As for myself, my name is Stefan. I've been involved with security research for more than 10 years now. What I like to do most is to analyze cyber espionage operations, which many people think that the process of analyzing cyber espionage operations looks like this. Just sit in front of a computer and do boring work all day. But in reality, when you fight with all of these very sophisticated threats, the way that you feel is more like this, being in a corrida ring and fighting a bull. That's actually me. I know it doesn't look like me, but it's me. It was in Malaga a few years ago. And that wasn't the real bull, that was just a baby bull. But believe me, the fear that you feel when the bull looks straight at you in your eyes is pretty similar to the adrenaline rush that you have when you discover new threats. And actually, we get excited not only when we discover threats, but also when other people discover threats. And the reason why we started doing this whole smart car research was because of Charlie Miller's hack of the Jeep from 2 years ago. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but this guy essentially managed to hack, of course you're familiar with it. This guy essentially managed to hack his Jeep on a highway while it was driving it. And because of that, the company had to recall more than 100,000 cars, and that's a big vulnerability. And I think that the more smart our cars become, the more we're going to see vulnerabilities like these. So yeah, with the please.
So whatever he said, yeah. The main motivation behind the hack was, or more like the spark that struck the fire, was finding some kind of research that was previously done by some guys over the internet. They found a way to get into their cars which already had an SSH daemon running. And I thought, I want to do that as well. I mean, it's my hardware, I should be able to play with it. So I did more research, and discovered that my car had the SSH as well. Yeah, good stuff. And I realized that I could be pulling a stunt like the Jeep guys as well. I didn't manage to quite do it, but I found a lot more interesting stuff. Like, first thing first, let's present the technology behind it. It's basically a computer inside your car. It's more like, I don't know, a 2-year-old mid-range phone. It's got a random CPU, it's got a random Linux distribution. And the fun fact is that it's got GPS on it, soldered, and you can't even remove it. That's how it comes out right from the box. It's got GPS. 1 gig of RAM, pretty neat, eh? And Wi-Fi. Every car comes with the Wi-Fi package, and you can do a lot of crazy stuff on it. The Wi-Fi wasn't that fun when it came to breaking inside of it, but it has a revolutionary USB technique, debugging technique, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. And at one point we decided to see what we can find on our car.
This was actually our main surprise because, of course, we knew that cars are running, computers inside of them. But we were really surprised to see that this is a fully fledged operating system. It was a Linux box, essentially, and you could do everything you wanted to do on it once you got inside. And this, essentially, this research made us realize that there's a market opening for what we now call smart car forensics. Because the way that we looked at it when we first started doing the research was we tried to put ourselves in the position of a potential attacker. But afterwards, we realized that this kind of research can also be used by law enforcement, for example, to collect evidence that they're going to use in a case against someone. Just like we collect evidence from a person's apartment, we collect evidence from a person's computers. In the future, they will be able to collect evidence from the cars.
So right now, we're the good guys. We're the police, and we're trying to get in. We can abuse the revolutionary USB debugging technique. It's basically an auto-run script that's executing whatever it has on that USB. So you can write a random bash script inside, and it gets executed automatically. So we wanted to do some bash magic. We disabled a built-in firewall that actually came in a separate version of the car's firmware. We ran the SSH daemon inside of it, and we got in. We had SSH access on our car, and that's the username and password. Yeah, don't look at that. Easy until now.
This was super surprising for us to see the car running SSH
and with random root credential, I mean default root credentials. That's just amazing. And we found absolutely everything. So whenever you would connect a phone to your car, all of the data would be pulled from your phone on the car's computer and stored there. It was persistent. I mean, if you paired the phone 1 year ago with my car, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. We found the call history, the contacts, sorry, the call history comes here. Yeah, I talk a lot with my girl. So.
Everything was magically packed in a SQL database. So whoever wants to do forensics on smart cars, it's very easy for them to look for all this personal identifiable information there.
And it gets even better. That's my favorite GPS, my favorite locations from the car's GPS. So as you can see, I've traveled a lot around.
Shopping malls.
Yeah, malls. I like malls. Malls are awesome. You get to buy a lot of shit there. And it's not even scratching the surface. We found the SMS messages, email messages, voice profiles. I don't know, at least the my Romanian colleagues. Who knows about the call baby guy? Yeah. So if he used that car, I would have recorded that from the start. You could pull his voice data and do all kinds of funny stuff. You get vehicle status information like how often do you brake, what's the average speed that you're going with, how much fuel you've been using, how aggressive are you driving, and what's right there, directory listings for everything. So if you have Telegram, for example, it appears right there because you have some random memes or GIFs or whatever stored inside on your phone. And now the police knows that you use Telegram or Signal or all that other funny stuff. And then we considered, so if the police can do this, what can a malicious actor do? And you can write a virus in bash. So you've got a little neat exploit running on your car. You can deploy it from the USB. There's this hot chick going inside your car. And she's like, oh, baby, can I play this song? Yeah, sure. She puts the USB right there, and then, bam, you're infected. That's it. Everything uses cron. Yeah. So via cron, you can set up a script to automatically run. It looks for open Wi-Fis, and whenever you're near an open Wi-Fi, it will dump all of your location history, your GPS logs, SMS history, call history, everything. It's right there. And that guy can track you. He can do what, he owns you. He can follow you around, and you can't really do anything, because even if you factory reset the car, it only loads some random bogus configuration. It doesn't remove the cron scripts and all that. You're fucked. And the auto industry, I mean, guys, come on. What are you doing?
The funny thing is that many of these in-car infotainment systems, they are actually developed in Romania. There's at least 2 companies that we know about that we have friends working there. They don't work on this specific model of cars that we're talking about. We don't want to mention the names, but I'm sure you saw the name on the slides.
Yeah, buy me a beer and a Coke for me.
But what we realize is that many of these systems that are implemented on cars, they're just built by programmers who are not necessarily thinking at security. What we saw on this Linux box that was running on the car, it looked like this was some random programmers, staging box or dev box, not a production system, not a system that was meant for actually running on a vehicle that can put human lives at risk. So yeah, but after we searched through everything that we managed to find on this onboard entertainment system, we realized that with some of the debug tools that these developers, for some reason, they left them on the car without the car user actually needing them, we can put together a scenario in which the car becomes weaponized. As in, as you're driving the car around the city, the car is, for example, attacking other cars, or the car is attacking Wi-Fi networks. Because what happened here was we managed to find the debugging tools that these guys had for both GPS and Wi-Fi. And by putting these tools together, we eventually were able to create, let's say, a word driving scenario in which you drive and you analyze Wi-Fi networks, but without a laptop and without that
we call it the pipe of death. One big bash pipe.
A bash one-liner.
Yeah.
That does this. Yeah, it constantly looks for open Wi-Fi networks and it logs everything. And you can view, you can do. You said carless word driving. We went to say laptop-less word driving, not carless word driving. But yeah, the results actually look like this. Exactly what you do word driving with a laptop, but without that laptop and only with the car. We'd really like to do a live demo of this. We talked to the conference organizers, and they told us that it would be a bit tricky to bring the whole car here on the stage. So unfortunately, the demo that we have was made last night. You want to talk about it, or should I just play it?
Just play it. We'll talk after.
Just play it. Okay. Or we can play. We can talk while it's playing. Lock and load. So this is the actual screen of the car, of the onboard computer. And what we have here is, by only putting together the debug tools that these guys left on the machine, the car constantly scans for Wi-Fi networks that are available in the area, and gives you a pop-up on the car computer screen whenever an open Wi-Fi is found. Our proof of concept script only does this, but because we're not malicious. But any malicious attacker would be able to weaponize something like this to exfiltrate data from the car whenever the car drives by an open wireless network, or to even launch exploits against other Wi-Fi enabled devices that are
think
around.
About this. Have you seen Fast and Furious 8? The one with the zombie cars? You could do something like that from your car. So you've got a car botnet, and you can do whatever you want. Make it mine cryptocurrency, or I don't know, play around like in GTA with it and all that. Make a blockchain.
Everything's better with blockchain.
Everything.
Yeah. So a couple of conclusions. We're getting close to the end. What we see here is that our privacy is threatened because we don't necessarily realize where our data is being stored right now. We're used to having data on our computers. Now we synchronize it with our phones, going through the cloud. So our data is everywhere. And now our data is also in the cars we drive. And I think that this will raise a lot of problems, especially with the advent of self-driving cars and with, for example, smart car sharing programs. So imagine, like, you probably don't consider a problem that your personal car has your personal data in it, but maybe in 10 years from now, we won't have personal cars anymore. We will have cars that we're going to share between each other, and we'll all want to synchronize our phones with those cars. And of course, you don't want to leave your data on a machine, on a vehicle that somebody else will be able to use. But of course, as with every technology, we want it. We want smart cars, we want smart things. But what we need to always remember and understand is that every new technology is like a double-edged sword. While it has its advantages, it also creates rooms and opportunity for attackers to do nasty things. And at the end of the day, you know, everybody wants your information, whether we're talking about cyber criminals, whether we're talking about big corporations or governments or law enforcement organizations.
Or your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Everybody wants information. We actually did an interview during the lunch break with a local TV station here in Romania. And the reporter from this TV station, she said, well, if I knew you guys 3 months ago when I broke up with my boyfriend, then everything would have went a lot easier if I could access the logs he had on his smart car.
Actually, my first unwilling victim for this was my girlfriend. It looks like she actually connected her phone with my car as well. It was okay, nothing incriminatory. Of course I checked. Come on.
Because everything is better with blockchain, I wanted to also include this last-minute slide in the presentation. This is research that we did this week. It was published on Wednesday, right before DefCamp started. We managed to discover a malicious crypto coin mining application in the Google Play Store. And this application was included in a legit game that was downloaded by more than 5 million Android users. And of course, Google removed the mining part of that because this guy was very deceiving. But this made us think. Yeah, you can read about this research that we did on Forbes. It was published on Wednesday. But it's got us thinking, like, if people are mining crypto coins on Android phones right now, why wouldn't this be possible to do it on a car in the future? Because there's so many cars which are already running Android-based entertainment systems.
And they're not doing anything with their CPU cycles.
And the malicious scenarios can go even further. If you think about the future with self-driving cars and with like fully automated cars that are even smarter than you, you can wake up one day and realize that your car was infected with some piece of ransomware. I mean, this could be technically or theoretically possible on the car that we did this research on. The fact that it just didn't happen yet, I think it's just it can be just a matter of time.
If you do it, I want to share as well our idea.
So yeah, I think that this is a very dangerous area that car manufacturers should take very, very seriously, because they do a pretty good job with the physical security when it comes to protecting the driver's life. I mean, you know, all modern cars, they have airbags and ABS and all sorts of stabilizing systems. But when it comes to actually protecting the data that's stored in the car, I think we're pretty much ignoring this thing. So yeah, this is about it. We just started doing this research a few months ago, and our plans for next year is to continue analyzing different other cars. So if anybody in this audience has a smart car that they want to try and break, we're really open with sharing our knowledge and our experience from this research. And also what we did recently was to order a software-defined radio from Amazon, and we're still waiting for it to be shipped. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to also look at the radio communications that cars have nowadays, because this is also a very interesting part. I think Gabi can tell you some words about over-the-air updates, because there's also some room for vulnerability.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, if you have a vulnerable device, I don't know, a router or a computer, you just update the software and call it a day. But you can't do that with most of the cars. I mean, yeah, you can take them to the guys doing the servicing and they'll do the update there, but it never kind of happens. I still have a really old firmware version on mine. And even if you do OTA updates, what happens if the attacker intercepts the OTA updates and then uses the car to intercept other OTA updates, let's say in the future if you've got a big SDR in your car? Then what? You need to find a way to really secure the software inside your machine. You can't have a secure car without securing the computer as well.
Right, I guess that's it from our side. Thank you very much for paying attention.